Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, now what I do is, okay, now, yeah, when more participants starts interacting with me, I'll mute you and all the queries you have, you just type in as in the chat window at the bottom, and I'll answer them, because if your mics are on, then there will be a lot of interference. So because of that, once we really start, once the number of participants crosses 5, I will mute all the mics of the participants. So you'll be able to you should respond with my questions and if you have any queries, please use the chat window and I'll answer them. Okay, so now let's take off. So we had all these predictive models like PMBOK and Prince, and Prince is the British standard for project management, PMBOK is the American standard. So all these things revolves around this plan, do, check, and act. That means whatever we want to do, we plan first, and then we try to do everything as per the plan. And once in a while, you check to see whether things are going as per the plan, and if there was a variance, we took action. So our all focus was to create a plan and then try to manage the project as per the plan. This is very good for maybe a construction kind of projects where the requirements are very stable and the engineering discipline itself doesn't allow for change. Whereas projects like IT, these things may not really fit in sometimes because change is inevitable. So we need to embrace a system which promotes continuous change. Okay, so here the cultural aspects of predictive styles is any variance is considered as evil. That means schedule variance is bad, effort variance is bad, defect density is bad. And the blind focus is on time, cost, and scope. And very often the project teams can be very insensitive to the business case of the project. So primarily you are driven by achieving the deadline on time, within cost and agreed upon cost and meet the scope. Sometimes this may lead to insensitiveness to the business case of the project, because we are not really bothered about why the customer is doing this project. So we don't really team up with the customer. Our blind focus is on the deliverable. And if the deliverable is as per the initial requirements, we want the customer to accept it, even if it is not meeting the customer's change requirements or the changed business conditions. Then we have these adaptive styles like Scrum, XP, Crystal, and all those things. Everything falls under the family of Agile. So if Agile is a class, Scrum is just one object of it, XP is another object, Crystal is one object. Now we have rational unified process and test-driven development, test-first development, feature-driven development, so extreme programming. So all these things falls under the family of Agile project management. So our blind focus today will be on Scrum. So if you have any questions, use the chat window, or you can even talk to me, no problem, because the number of participants are lesser. Now, Agile may not be the right fit for all types of project, because unnecessarily in the industry, if somebody falls into that Agile lobby, then he or she tries to manage everything using Agile. Or if somebody falls into that PMP bandwagon, then they want to manage everything using PMP. And these people sometimes they don't even talk to each other. So that is quite unnecessary, because the projects we have can be classified into based on two parameters. One is the type of requirements we are getting from the customer. The requirements could be erratic, fluctuating, routine, or stable. And the type of technology we are using could be bleeding edge, leading edge, familiar, and well-known. So if the technology is something very latest, and if the team's exposure to the technology is very, very less, and if the requirements are highly fluctuating, then that yellow band of the project where the requirements volatility is high, where the unpredictability of the requirements as well as the technology is is very high, then those projects can be a good candidate for agile project management. Whereas if you get a project where requirements are very, very clear and the technology is also very familiar, then we don't need agile. We can always go with waterfall as well. So first of all, we have to qualify something as a project, and then within that we have to qualify something as a candidate for agile or the candidate for a conventional project management. Then whichever qualifies as a candidate for agile, then okay, that alone we can manage using agile project management. So from the IT perspective, I think most of the IT projects they are candidates for agile, because starting from a creation of a website to a complicated web-based application or a product, see, nobody can give you the requirements up front. Even a website, only when the customer sees it, he will think about better graphics and better positioning of these graphics and all those things. He'll get better ideas. So there, if you go with a kind of a waterfall model, then you may complete the project, but then maybe the customer may not be really delighted with the output of the project. The Scrum is a very simple framework. So first thing is, okay, it has here we have a product backlog. So product backlog is nothing but the wish list of the features that may get into the product. That means there is one person called product owner. So as and when he gets a product idea, he makes an entry into the product backlog. So he's the custodian of the product backlog, and product backlog primarily is kept using an Excel sheet, and whenever a feature idea is coming in, he or she will make one entry into that Excel sheet so that that person will not forget about it. Then once, and this product backlog is allowed to grow indefinitely. That means during the entire life cycle, you allow the requirements to grow indefinitely. So you welcome changing requirements. And then what we do is, okay, we get into a planning. The product backlog prioritizes the features, and then he or she can say, next 30 days time, I want this many features to be done. We call that as a sprint backlog. So sprint backlog is nothing but a subset of the product backlog, which the team commits to develop within a 30-day cycle. We call that as a sprint. So we have a repository of the product backlog entries, and once in 30 days, the team and the product owner do a planning meeting, where the duration of the planning meeting is approximately 8 hours, where the first 4 hours of the meeting they debate on the features that need to be developed within the next 30 days time. And after the first 4 hours, they have a lock-in on the features which can be developed by a 10-member team during a 30-day cycle. And once that lock-in happens, because a lot of debates can happen here for dependencies, engineering dependencies, and those kind of things, cohesion, coupling, and all those things. Then once the lock-in happens, the remaining 4 hours is for decomposing those features into engineering tasks. So if you are a PMP, then this is a kind of this is similar to work packages and decomposing those work packages into activities. Here we have the sprint backlog, which is nothing but the agreed upon features to be developed in the next 30-day cycle, and then the remaining 4 hours you decompose that into activities and estimate them and all. Then the team starts the development of the agreed upon features, and here the key thing is there is no work allocation. The Scrum promotes work volunteering. So the team members are allowed to volunteer for the work which they want to do, because at the end of the planning meeting, for every task we'll have a whiteboard, and on the whiteboard every task will be positioned as will be represented with a yellow post-it, and the team members can volunteer for the task they want to do. And when they start working on it, they put their name on it. So by looking at the whiteboard, you know exactly who's working on. So At the end of the planning meeting, you get a whiteboard like this where every feature or task you're supposed to do, there will be an yellow post-it, and people are allowed to volunteer. And when somebody starts work on it, it'll move from this column to this column. So this is to be done, this is being done, and this is done. So when somebody is working on it, that will be moved from here to here, and when that is done, that will be moved from here to here. So by looking at the board, exactly we know who is working on what, and how many tasks are completed, and how many are in progress, and how many are yet to be started, kind of thing. Work volunteering happens on a daily basis. So because you can volunteer for one task at a time, or maybe 2-3 tasks at a time. So what I do is, again, on the first day of the sprint, after the planning, the next day the sprint starts. Maybe the first day of the sprint, I'll go and pick up those tasks which I want to do. Okay, and the team composition is also is quite interesting, because the team comprises of a product owner, a Scrum Master, and team members. There is no other role in the team. And the team members may have coding skills, the team members may have architecting skills, the team members may have testing skills. So it doesn't mean that a tester will do only testing. A tester can do some coding as well, if she wants to. Similarly, just because my designation is a coder, it doesn't mean that I'll do only coding. If I want to do some testing or test automation, I can do that as well, and I don't need anybody's permission for it. So it's all about work volunteering, and then the beauty is, okay, every day there is a daily stand-up meeting. This meeting is a 15 minutes daily stand-up meeting, where every team member should tell 3 things to the rest of the team, and the 3 things are, what did I do yesterday, what am I doing today, and what are the issues I'm facing. So each person in the team will get approximately 2 minutes. So we are talking about an 8-member or 9-member team, all put together 15 minutes. So it is not an issue resolution meeting, it is just a daily stand-up meeting, and the objective of the meeting is only status update. And this will create a lot of peer pressure on the team members, because if I've not done anything, I will not have anything to tell the rest of the team members. So if I'm a contributing member, no problem for me, but if I'm a non-contributing member, then there will be a lot of peer pressure on me, which will make me either perform or drop out to a waterfall team. So that's how the monitoring and controlling is done. And during the planning meeting here, the planning meeting itself, we write down the acceptance test for the project, for the features. Okay, and we decide on a demo date as well. So on that agreed upon date, all other stakeholders can come and sit. They may not even check with the team whether it is ready and all. So on that particular agreed upon date during the planning meeting, the other stakeholders will come and sit, and the team will have to demo the product which they have done. When we say demo the product, they should demo whatever is agreed upon here during the planning meeting, and they should run the acceptance test which are agreed upon during the planning meeting. Because sending a percentage completion report will not help. If the idea is, like, if something is done, it should run. It should be demonstrable. So you cannot say things like it is 80% is done, 90% is done. So here either it is done or it is not done. So they'll show the demo, and if all the agreed upon, for all the agreed upon features, and if all the acceptance test passes, that sprint is a success. If any one of the acceptance tests fails, the sprint is a failure. And success and failure doesn't matter much, because out of 10 acceptance tests, even if one fails, technically the sprint is a failure, but then actually we are not throwing out any code, so it is only a status, whether it is success or failure. And the cycle continues. So after 30 days, okay, then we get into the next sprint planning meeting. So now, any questions at this stage? So this is a cycle which is very lean, and so there is nothing to customize here. When people are talking about customized implementation of Scrum and all, that is not feasible. That will not work. Either you'll have to implement it as it is, or just forget about it. Because the framework itself is very lean. There is nothing to delete from here. There is nothing to customize. So this is the skeleton. We don't know. So if a person is sitting on a task for days together without completing it, every day that person will have to say to the rest of the team in the stand-up meeting. So one of the team members definitely will be able to go and help that person, or if that person is unable to complete a task which that person volunteered in that sprint board, that person can always put it back here. From being done, you can always put it back so that somebody else can take it and then finish it off. Right. At the same time, we said that there are three things. At every stand-up meeting, every team member can say three things. What did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? What are the issues I'm facing? So when I highlight an issue I'm facing, if I need help, then it is the Scrum Master's responsibility to resolve it. But if I don't ask for help, that help need not be extended to me. But in case if I ask for help, that should be provided by the Scrum Master. Okay, and if Scrum Master wants to call for another issue resolution meeting outside this daily stand-up meeting, that is quite okay. If there is a technical dependency or a dependency on some other team's deliverable, then okay, Scrum Master will have to pitch in. Or you ask for some clarification to the product owner during the coding time, and the product owner did not give give the clarification on time. Because of that, I'm stuck. Then the Scrum Master will have to pitch in. So Scrum Master is primarily the custodian of the Scrum framework and the process, and she will have to protect her team from other intruders. So that means when my engineer is working on something, I should not allow other interferences to disturb them, and that is my fundamental job, which is not easy. Which is not easy. Yeah. Okay, so if I'm a person if I'm a manager, kind of a manager who is just thriving on asking for status reports alone, then I will not have a role here. But if I'm a contribution freak, if I'm a control freak, then I don't have much to do here. But if I'm a contribution freak, then I have a lot to do here. Okay, so we are talking about that kind of a team where yeah, every individual in the team is competent in one way or other. So we are talking about the teamwork of individually competent people. And sometimes it doesn't work because of your recruitment issue. You have recruited incompetent people, or team may need some training. So all these are issues. So it is your decision whether you want to create a great team or a lousy team. So that is an organization's decision. So if the objective is to create a competent team, then this is perfect. But if the objective is to create a team of even and accommodate even incompetent people at the cost of the competent, then yeah, you'll have to face a lot of organizational resistance to implement Scrum, which is there in most of the places. So whenever you go for implementation, you see a lobby which is working against it to defeat it, because if this gets implemented, their position will be in danger. Because these are the guys who are thriving on only on that red, yellow, green report. Yeah, they don't contribute anything to the product of the project, except asking for status and then why it is not done and then shouting at people and all. So that is not the right atmosphere for Scrum. Scrum, we are talking about a group of people who can really come together and then deliver something valuable to the customer. So here we are not talking about just control freaks. So we are talking about contribution freaks. And most of the great teams are like that, where HR policies will say very clearly, like, you have to respect individuals, you cannot shout at people. So you're more of as a Scrum Master should be more of a servant leader than a control freak. So that itself, and that is a norm in any good team. Right? If your team members are really capable people, then you cannot terrorize them and then get things done. And if it is any decent organization, shouting at others is prohibited. Actually, you lose your job if you shout at people. Okay, so that's how it is. Any other questions? See, these things are not ideal or utopian things. These things are working in many organizations, even in small towns. And sometimes it is very difficult to implement in a large organization where a lot of bureaucracies are already set in. Then you try to do this, then you'll have to face some resistance. You'll definitely face a lot of resistance. But then the entire world is moving towards this, and if you're not there, you'll be left out in another 2-3 years time. Right. So a couple of weeks back, we had another webinar on contract types for Agile. So there, sometimes, we cannot go by we have to reinvent the contract types, because the conventional contract types are fixed price, cost reimbursable, time and material, and fixed price with economic price adjustment. So those things may not fit in here. Here the philosophy is that, I'm not in a hurry to get out of a customer's place. Okay, so Neelima, let me ask you one question to you. When did you attend my last training? 3 years back? Am I leaving you? I'm not leaving you. I'm chasing you after that. Okay. Yeah. So nothing is governed by any contractual obligations, because my focus is only adding value to my customers, and the business will happen at some point in time. Maybe even the contract type we'll have to slightly reinvent. What I'm saying is, now you can, instead of signing a contract on the value on the amount, you can always say on the value. Yeah. So we are talking about a business charter, a project charter. Project charter has they have the project objectives, and objective is linked to some value to the organization. So whenever we get a project, we can always look at the project charter of the project. We can look at the business case of the project, and then we can always tell the client that, okay, see, boss, I'll do the project for you, but then you give me the cost, not the profit, because I'll have to pay the salary of my engineers. So I'll sign a time and material contract with you, but then without profit. Okay, only for the cost. And at the end of the project, if the deliverable is meeting your business objective, then give me 10% of it for the next 2 years of the money you saved. Yeah, I hope you understand. So now, if let's say you're coming for my PMP training, instead of telling you things like, "Oh, give me $1,000," instead of telling you that, I'll say, "Please give me $500 because that is required to meet my expenditure." And once you become a PMP, and because of that, if you are getting a 2% extra increment, you give me 10% of that. So that I ultimately will end up paying me maybe $5,000, not $1,000. But then you don't mind paying it because you got the value, right? So we are talking about really dirtying our hands, working closely with the customer, and the product owner is also an integral part of the team. And very often, generally, the product owner will come from the customer side. Okay, so the product owner from the customer side and the development team from the vendor side, they all work as one unit in delivering some value to the customer. Okay, so that is the norm. So we don't believe in delivering something to the customer because it is written in the contract. And if it is useless thing, the customer is going to suffer. So that customer will not come back to you after that. That is a problem. Yeah, so I fully understand. See, now in every customer's place, this cannot be implemented. If you have a customer who thinks that I just want to outsource this work and then just leave that headache, kind of a guy, Scrum may not work. But if you get a customer who is really enthusiastic about the whole thing and he himself doesn't know what he wants, but he's willing to go to any extent to make the project successful, then that is a customer where you should propose Scrum, because he know only about the problem he has, but then he doesn't know much about the solution. Then he is knocking at your doors for a solution. Then this is fine. But if you are getting a customer who is just focusing on fixed price, the lowest quote, and so that he can transfer the risk to you, then this may not work. So this is not the solution for all projects and all inefficient customer. There's nothing called inefficient customer. Maybe a highly political customer. This may not work. Okay, so in an IT segment, if you are dealing with maybe private sectors and all, definitely this should work, because they are also investing money to resolve some of their business issues. And while starting the project, they themselves may not know exactly what they want. So you sign this kind of a contract where so we'll give you aggressive pricing, because that pricing is without our profit element, and for the profit element, it should be a percentage of the profit you accrue out of the solution we deliver over the next couple of years, kind of thing. Then they will be happy. They should be happy, rather. Okay, so yeah, so the origins of Scrum were it was founded by this Jeff Sutherland and Ken Squaber. So they started around 20 years back. So it is not something new, and they have even implemented it in 200 member teams, or not 200, 400 plus member teams, distributed teams. But again, the basic unit will remain at 9 plus or minus 2, the basic team size. So 9 team members and 1 Scrum Master and a product owner. And if it's a very large product, if the team size is 100, then you'll have 10 units of 10 members each, kind of thing. and then how to integrate their work together and all. So it has its own challenges. So maybe in subsequent webinars, maybe we'll get into those things. It's okay. So we are talking about teaming like this. Okay, so here we have the Scrum Master who is more of a referee. So this is the here. Sorry. So here we have the Scrum Master who is more of a referee, and this is the team members playing the game, and the only objective is to deliver value to the customer. And there could be a lot of people who doesn't have any direct role to play in the project, who are just spectators to this project. So they'll be here because they are not technical, and they may not have a lot of contributing capability. But at the same time, to run an organization, we'll need all these people. But maybe to run a project, I don't need these people. But then if they try to invade the field, then it is the Scrum Master's responsibility to protect the team from these invasions. So Scrum Master is a kind of a contact point between the other stakeholders and the project team. And there is a product owner who gives the requirements and clarify the team's queries throughout the development process. Oh, I changed the slide. Okay, some problem here. Okay, 1 minute. Is it changed now, the slide? Okay, can you see the slide? Okay, fine. So I was, I was on this slide actually. Yeah, this is a slide which I was explaining. So here we have the Scrum Master who is more of a referee, and this is the team which is really playing the game, and other stakeholders who are not directly involved in the project will be here. And whenever they try to invade the field, it is a job of the Scrum Master to protect the team from those invasions. It's like when I have my team's daily stand-up meeting, if somebody else comes and hijacks that meeting, oh, I should protect the team from those things. When my team is really working on a project, if somebody else is allocating some work, some other priority work, then okay, I should deal with it. So it is not easy. It's a tough job. So don't think that it's an easy job as a Scrum Master, because people will decide what they will do, and then after that you can relax, kind of thing. So it's not so that during the development process, whenever there is an issue where the people need help, the Scrum Master will have to pitch in and then resolve it for them. So that itself is a lot of pressure on the Scrum Master. Okay, then Scrum is based on some values. It is not a rule-based system. It is based on a lot of values. First thing is, okay, now we need a committed team. So the commitment is a must. And then we need a highly focused team, because they don't focus on anything else. They blindly focus on this particular project. And then the openness level in the team should be very, very high, where people should be able to debate on engineering stuff. So there is nobody called an expert who can just tell the team and then the team blindly follows it. Here everything is based on debates and discussions and then convergence. For that we need an open environment. And then the whole team is based on respect for the individual. You may be my senior, but it doesn't mean that you need not respect me. So both of us will have to respect each other, and we may be coming from different countries, different cultures, all those things, different religious background, cultural background, all those things. But then I have to respect the individuals. So individuals are shaped by their background and their experiences. It is important to respect different people who comprise a team. And courage, have the courage to commit, to act, to be open, and to expect respect. So on a slide, all these things looks very simple, but in reality, sometimes these things are very difficult, because if I am a team member who is very courageous and who can take some risk, and then if I go and pick up a complex task, and if I fail, if you are going to penalize me for it, then next time I will not do it. I'll always take up only simple tasks. Yeah, so sometimes we need an environment where people are encouraged to take some risk, and after that, even if they fail, no, you should not punish them. You should still reward them for their risk taking. So it is not that straightforward. So anything value based is not that straightforward. It will take some time. Yeah, if anything rule based is very easy. You bring in a check sheet and then tick mark, it's very easy. But then anything value based, we are talking about re-engineering the team's working culture, the organizational culture, and all those things. But at the same time, if you ask me, is it really happening? It is definitely happening, because we have worked very closely with some startups where all these things are perfectly happening. We have worked with some very large organizations also, but then the entire organization is not on Scrum. Some projects within that organization, okay, so we could transition them into Scrum. When we say team, we are talking about teams of 100 plus. We could transition them to Scrum from Waterfall. But then we had great managers who could transition them first as Scrum Masters, and yeah. So at the same time, we have accounts where they're calling it a Scrum and all, but then it is Waterfall only. So we used to have the daily. I've seen enough daily stand-up meetings where the manager will come and the team also will stand up, but then the manager will ask questions to everybody. What did you do yesterday? Why it is not done? And all these things. Then that is a flawed implementation of Scrum, because in Scrum, work allocation is prohibited. Everything is driven by work volunteering, and stand-up meeting is a team's meeting, and each person will have to explain 3 things to the rest of the team, like what did I do yesterday, what am I doing today, what are the issues I'm facing. And the manager is more of a servant leader. He's not a command freak. He's only a contribution freak. So these are the basic ingredients. And the product owner, mostly from the customer side, should be available. That person is an ingredient part of the team. In a distributed development, this may be a luxury, but then, but if at least that person should be available on video, so that the team can discuss face to face during planning time as well as during execution time, so that their clarifications comes from the product owner very quickly, so that the team is not stuck whenever they get into some coding issues and all. So if you go back to the conventional project management, we were talking about the triple constraints of time, cost, and scope. So here, the only thing that is non-negotiable is the time. If you say 30 days time, we will develop 5 features means the 30 days cannot become 31 days. On the 30th day, the demo will happen, and either the demo is successful or it's a failure. The 30 cannot become 31. So time is non-negotiable. Scope is negotiable. Maybe cost also may be partially negotiable, but time is non-negotiable. So if you apply the conventional triple constraints to this project, so the Scrum, this is the flexibility matrix. Time non-negotiable, cost may be moderately flexible, and scope may be highly flexible. That means if the team committed 5 features to be done in 30 days time, and if they realize that they can do only 4, they can always negotiate with the product owner, and if the product owner agrees to it, then still the sprint is rated as successful. So I think today we have time. We have just started. Okay, so a lot to be discussed here. So we have just started. So at least I presume that you understand the components of a Scrum framework. We spoke about a product backlog. Then we spoke about a sprint backlog, which is a subset of the product backlog, which is prioritized by the product owner. Then the team gets into a planning meeting, 8-hour planning meeting. We call it the sprint planning meeting. During the sprint planning meeting, they agree on a subset of the product backlog. We call it as a sprint backlog. And after that, during execution, the 30-day sprint, the team members volunteer to do it. And every day there is a daily stand-up meeting, which is also known as the daily Scrum. And upon completion of the 30 days, there is a sprint demo meeting where the product produced is demonstrated based on the acceptance criteria defined during the planning meeting. And after all these things, there is a retrospective meeting, which is nothing but a lessons learned meeting, where what went right and what went wrong and all those things are discussed. So this is the basic skeleton of it. And in the webinars which will be scheduled in the future, we may discuss each of these components in detail. So if you're really interested to implement Scrum at your workplace, then do follow the subsequent webinars. Because if I want to really communicate the complete Scrum to you, we'll need at least 8 to 10 hours. So today we had just 45 minutes. So now I'll take any questions you have. Either you can use the mic or you can type in your questions and I'll try to answer them. Yeah, Niaz, I'm unable to hear you. Yeah. Yeah, yes. So you missed the first slide. So Scrum is just one of the Agile methodologies. So Agile, the whole family of the Agile methods, we call it as this is Agile family. And under Agile comes all these things: Scrum, extreme programming, RUP, test-driven development, test-first development, feature-driven development. So all these are different models. Collectively, they all come under Agile. So our discussion was only on Scrum, which is one of the Agile methods. Any other questions? Yep. So if you don't have any other questions, I think we'll call it a day, and maybe you go back to your work because yeah, I'm getting into another class maybe in another 15 minutes time. So I hope it was useful. I presume that you got some value, but then I'm sure that, okay, see, I've exposed only the tip of the iceberg to you. So if you know Scrum is just one of the Agile methodologies, and if you know the building blocks of Scrum, then it's fine. And if you want to understand more of Scrum, see, there is a group under PMRI campus called Scrum, which is an open group. You just become a member of that Scrum group in PMRI campus. So there I've given a small write-up on Scrum, and then I'll be adding more content there. Okay then, so thanks for your time. Yeah, nice to hear that. Okay. So maybe the most important thing is, okay, you should start somewhere, but then it's too early. Maybe wait for some more webinars, and then I think you can at least try it in a small project at your workplace. Then you'll have more queries. So based on those queries, okay, we can have more webinars with that as the theme from an implementer's perspective. So that may help you to get at least one project up and running on Scrum. So that's how you learn it. No point in just reading about Scrum and then talking academically about Scrum. You should take a plunge and then dirty your hands a little bit. That's the way to learn. Okay, and PMI has come out with a new certification on Agile and all, PMI ACP. I cleared it. Yeah, as usual, again, I went for an endorsement for the knowledge I already had. Because Scrum, I came across Scrum 6-7 years back. Okay, then we worked at least along with at least maybe 20-23 teams in implementing it. So then, okay, the PMI SCP happened, and then I thought maybe I'll take that certificate. So I got that certification. Then there are a lot of other certifications from Scrum Alliance and all, which is another body, like Certified Scrum Master and Certified Scrum Practitioner, Certified Scrum Product Owner and all. So certifications is a different thing, but then really practicing it is a different ballgame. So I'm more interested in practicing. When people practice it, okay, it's okay, it is great. So then we have a lot of meaningful things to discuss than talking academically. Okay, so thank you. Thanks for your time, and hopefully we'll meet once again during the course of this week or next week. Most welcome. Yeah, thanks.